Howdy, all. I'm Adam the Renaissance Nerd, and I just finished watching Rebuild of Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time. I got mixed feelings. I liked it, but I have my issues with it. As I've stated in the past in other videos, including a commentary on the release of this movie in Japan when it happened a couple months ago, I am a veteran fan of Evangelion. I own the original. I have purchased the manga, all 6 volumes of the manga, Angelic Days, because that one really touched my heart. Had End of Evangelion, but I ditched that one a long time ago because I just couldn't take it anymore. And I got a good price for it, too, back in the day when I needed some money. Point is, I am a veteran of the franchise, and when Hideki Anno announced that he was going to do the Rebuild of Evangelion project, now that he was in his right mind, because let us remember, when he did the original series, he was suffering from severe depression. He was trying to use it to work his way through it, and it didn't quite work, and it ended up being a real metaphysical mess at the end. As incredible as it was still a metaphysical mess, and it was a major mind fuck. But the Rebuild project was meant to be Anno telling the story sane. And he succeeded. For the most part, he succeeded. My gripes are my personal gripes of why I think it isn't perfect at the end here. But what has happened? The Rebuild project covers the original 24 episodes of the anime in the first 2 movies, and then beginning with the aborted third Impact. All the characters we know and love, with the addition of Mary Illustrious, were reintroduced. For the most part, the same as they always were. A lot of the situations were the same, yet slightly changed, but we liked it. It was good. I enjoyed it. And then the third movie happened, and the third movie was really kind of a, what is this? Didn't enjoy the third movie as much personally, because it was a 14-year time skip. Shinji kind of does a lot of stupid stuff, and thinking he's going to say things, do things right. He's brainwashed by his father, who's really got his own mission. We're going to cover that in a minute when I talk about this movie. And then they nearly do another F up. They almost destroy everything again, and then Shinji watches Kaoru get his head blown off, and he goes into sort of a shock, which is where we pick up in the 4th movie. Heading towards the final battle, Shinji, Asuka, and the current clone of Rei go off in their own direction, and we spent basically the first half of the movie doing character building stuff. No action, no nothing, and that's all right, because it's good storytelling. We are getting these characters, we're seeing where they are, we are watching, as I see it, Shinji as a representation of Anno telling us what it's like to be severely depressed, severely self-loathing, and then to reconnect and pull yourself out. Now I'm going to lead that into what I like about this movie without spoiling too much more. There will be still some spoilers, but not too much more. What I like about this movie, majorly, aside from the beautiful animation, are the themes of this movie. I really love the themes. The themes that we should not be afraid to make human connections. The human condition requires us to be with each other, not submit to the absolute terror field, the AT field, that separates us from connecting. The whole point of this is that Gendo Ikari, as we learn, we get his full backstory by the end of the movie, that he didn't care about the world. Didn't matter that he was lonely, because he didn't understand loneliness because he wasn't lonely. He rejected everything, but then he met one person that gave him a deep connection, Yui Ikari. And she gave him everything he needed, fulfilled his life, gave him meaning, and then she died. And in his severe depression and terror of now facing loneliness for the first time ever, he wanted to create the ultimate in human connection, the human instrumentality project, merging of consciousness to wipe away all barriers. So he went from being one extreme to the other extreme. And it's a fascinating thing to understand. Of course, the other part of this is that there is always a little bit of redemption. Gendo in the end realizes that his rejection of his son, his fear of his son, fear of forming connection was the wrong choice, because in the end, Shinji was the memory of his wife. She was always there. Yes, she was also metaphysically inside Unit 1. But she was always there, and he realized at the end. And that also leads to the other idea, the other theme of this story that I very much appreciate, the idea that parents should sacrifice so that their children can have a better life, so their children can thrive and survive. The very end, and here's some spoilers. Very end, the fact that Gendo inside Unit 13, Yui inside Unit 1, willingly sacrificed themselves to initiate not the reset, but the cleansing of the planet, so that Shinji doesn't have to do it, so that he can go on, survive, and have a life. Masato sacrifices herself to make sure that her child, whom she willingly let go of, can have a good life. I appreciate that theme, and Anno is right for expressing that to us. I also really dug that at last, Shinji manned up. Shinji untucked his balls, stopped crying like a baby, and manned up, went and confronted his father, talked to his father, which is just as difficult, and manned up, admitted his feelings to everybody around him, and grew as a person. I appreciated that. That's kind of where my enjoyment ends. I'm not going to talk about the action of the movie because that's obligatory. What action there was well done because the animation was beautiful. And the choreography was very well done. What I don't like has to do with some of the story structure. On the one hand, Mary Illustrious was an interesting character introduced in the second movie, brand new character. Through 3 movies now, she didn't get the development. She didn't earn the right to get some of the moments she had in this movie, in my opinion. We don't know enough about her. There's some hints in Gendo's flashbacks that maybe she's older than she looks due to her own experiences with the experimentation on the Evangelion technology. But her powerful moments in this, I don't feel they were earned. She was an interesting character, pretty character, well-drawn character, well-portrayed character, but her depth was not investigated enough in 3 movies, especially in this movie. And that is the problem with this movie, is that while at the end, in the third act, we get a lot of introspection for a lot of different people, it's all rushed. It wasn't given enough time. It was not given enough time. And that leads me to the biggest problem that I have personally. 20 plus years of being a fan of this franchise, watching the original many times, reading Angelic Days, even toying with using Shinji and Asuka in what I called my fusion fiction stories, where I was bringing a lot of elements into my original works that I was working on, the same works I'm going to be retooling, taking out stuff that I borrowed. At one point, I toyed with bringing a post-Third Impact Shinji and Asuka, post-End of Evangelion moment into my work and using them as mixed in with my original characters and other characters. I eventually axed that idea and gave their roles to some other original characters I created, but I played with it. I have decades of Shinji and Asuka Langley Soryu, not Asuka Langley Shikinami. That I still struggle with that. I have decades of an imprint that they were destined to be a couple. Even at the end of Evangelion, where Shinji is freaking out because he's completely discombobulated after the aborted Third Impact, and he's choking out Asuka, and she touches his face to remind him that she's real and that he's okay, and he releases her. And then, of course, the poster on the cover of the movie is them sitting on the beach together, staring at Giant Naked Ray's head together, post that moment that they are there. They are possibly the last 2 individuals on the planet until people decide maybe to reform physically and come out of the LCL ocean. Everything always kind of pointed to them. And now I understand that this movie paints a picture that, yes, Shinji says, I liked you, as she said, I liked you too at one point. And it's supposed to be the childhood infatuation versus the adult infatuation. Where in this movie, Asuka is a 30-year-old woman trapped in a 15-year-old's body. But Shinji is still a 15-year-old boy. At the end, the final scene, the happy ending. And again, I forgot, that is the great thing. Anno gave us a happy ending, and I love a good happy ending. It's a solid. It makes sense. Overall, it makes sense, and it feels good. You're smiling. You're smiling. You feel good. But Shinji runs off with Mary at the end to go on and live. We see Asuka in the distance there with other characters on the train platform, but Shinji goes off with Mary. And to me, due to her lack of development, that moment for Mary wasn't earned. It should have been Asuka. It should have been Asuka that says, I like you as an adult. I'm ready to explore you as an adult. You came for me. You rescued me. Like you showed indecision before to rescue me, but this time you did rescue me. You were willing to sacrifice yourself to rescue me. That should have been the building bridge for their adult relationship. Not so much Shinji trusted that Mary would come and rescue him and pull him out of the alternate inverse. What was it called? The alternate inverse. I think that was what it was called. The alternate, whatever. That she would come pull him out. That's the basis of their relationship. Again, not earned, and I feel a little cheated that I didn't get Shinji and Asuka, and I got Shinji and Mary in the end. Shinji's a man now, and I love that, but he's running off into life with the wrong girl. And again, I know it's supposed to be adult versus young infatuation, but I'm sorry. You should have gone that way. Maybe that's Anno not wanting to go backwards, and as the man behind this madness, that's his right to tell that story. But I'm not happy with that aspect of it. That's the one aspect that's hanging up. I'm glad I didn't write them as characters, because then I'd have an even bigger problem if I'd spent years working on them as a couple in a version of my own stories, and then not have them run off in this end, which I'd been hoping the whole time it would happen. I didn't get that. So I'm a little dissatisfied on that. But that's just me. That's my opinion as a fan. In the end, it kind of makes me, I feel like I'm kind of done with this all. I'll probably hang on to my DVDs. I'm not going to throw them out. I'm probably going to hang on to Angelic Days, because Angelic Days does give me Shinji and Asuka. But I probably won't ever watch it all again, to be honest. Maybe show it off someday, but I've kind of now closed the book on all this. And now I'm going to give it to my head scratch. My real head scratch problem with this is the fact that even as a veteran of the show, the third act is so massively rushed, and they're throwing so much jargon at me. If you hear that thunder, wow, that's a big thunderclap. Anyway, the jargon of the third act is just too much. Again, I've watched the original, I watched the rebuild, I never read the manga, so if this stuff has been thrown in there in the manga, but not in anything I've ever watched, suddenly I'm getting assaulted with 12 lances and names connected to this and these other ships and this and the hope. And it's like, whoa, what are you doing? Yeah, it was cool. We got that Anno managed to work in Giant Naked Ray again, but a lot of that stuff left your head scratching. You're wondering too much. If you're not a veteran and you can appreciate it, if you're new to this, it's gonna be a little disconcerting while you're watching this. Even for a veteran like me, I was dislodged, constantly thinking, I understand it, yet I don't understand it. Anyway, as I said, these are worth watching, and it's a good, satisfying ending. But my hang-ups, I'm probably done with the franchise forever now. I have no need to revisit Evangelion ever again. But I suggest that you do if you haven't ever had before. If you want to watch it all, watch the original stuff and then watch this, or just watch this, because honestly, if you have the baggage of the original series and possibly the manga, you might feel the slight dissatisfaction of an idea. While satisfied that is a happy ending, you might feel cheated that Shinji did not end up with Asuka. Alright, I'm done. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, a like would be very much appreciated. If you're new here, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I invite you to follow me on Odyssey. Without your support and your trust, which I'm trying to earn, we cannot return escapism to entertainment. Hit that notification button. I try to make a couple of videos every day. If you like what I'm preaching, then share my gospel by sharing my videos. And comment away. Real comments are great. You don't have to agree with me. We can still find common ground because we are, for the most part, here normal people. But if you're on SJW, you get both barrels. I don't care what you think. I will never care what you think. You're a coward behind a keyboard. And if we ignore you, you got no power. Thank you again for watching. Take it easy. Thanks for watching, everybody. I don't do Facebook. I will never do Twitter. If you want to reach out to me, just email me. It's purely for this channel. I will not miss your communication. Check me out at the Geeks and Gamers forums under @ROAS. Join me in conversations there, among many others. And I'm now on Odyssey @The Renaissance Nerd. Follow me there as well. Help us keep fighting to return escapism to entertainment. Thank you again for watching. See you next time.